But Jeremy, did you want to talk about the biggest misconception about autism?
Mm,
That
where to start? I
right?
mean, there's quite a few. But I guess
I mean, I don't want
one of
to I don't want to jump on your answer, but like for me, the thing I always
yeah,
struggle with is calling a thing a disorder when it doesn't feel like a disorder to me. I mean, there's
sure,
aspects of it that clearly are disorderly. Um,
yeah.
but I don't know,
Well,
like
think
it a lot of it looks to me like more like funny wiring
yeah,
than bad wiring.
yeah. I think this all comes down to, and happily, more than happy to put my hand up and be corrected. I think that there's been for so long so much perception towards the term disorder being negative. When I can understand and empathise with many who might look at that term and see that as a negative, and so it's been over the journey, about change the wording and make it from disorder to condition, or from disorder to different, and things like this. But at the end of the day, as well, you got to realise that well, it's like when you pick up your cutlery. Well, a spoon is a spoon, and a knife is a knife, and a fork is a fork, and don't think of disorder as negative. Think of it as more, well, that's just the term used to describe that when your child has behaviours or symptoms that may certainly be create an awkwardness or a difficulty or a challenge for both themselves, for someone else, that they haven't yet built the skills or seek to, they haven't had the support to be able to manage and organise their themselves. So that's what I feel the term disorder by definition, as well as to explain something's sure, it may appear negative on the surface, but it's just the term used to describe what is going on in those particular moments. So if someone said to me, well, would you change that term, Jeremy, from disorder, autism spectrum disorder, to autism spectrum condition? I love the change, but I also respect the fact that that is by the clinicians, or the diagnostic statistic manual and all the rest. That's just the term. Another misconception might be, I think that we're finding ourselves throwing so much of, I see a lot of in the autism community, which I over the journey, I realized what was really going on from within, and I can't do it. I have to step out. This is not for me. So many on the spectrum using the term autistic as a form of ideology and playing identity politics there, to certainly try to push for more stronger accommodations and special considerations to serve them. I get a little frustrated from time to time when I hear even students that I work with who say, I can't do that. Autistic people don't do that. And I think, well, it's got nothing to do with whether you're autistic or not. This is just learning how to become a little bit more self-sufficient or independent in your daily life. These are life essential skills that you, me, and everybody else, need to practice and learn if we're to someday be a little more successful. And don't tell me that you can't do it because you're autistic. I know what that's all about. I was that kid who, again, put my foot out. I can't do my shoelace. I'm Asperger's syndrome. People with Asperger's, we don't have the time. We can't do things like that. And my mother and my parents used to say, no, look, never ever use Asperger's, or never ever use autism or any of that to project that you cannot do things. That in my view and opinion is absolutely ridiculous. It's unnecessary. We should look at absolutely a child on the autism spectrum and be supporting them, that they can do absolutely anything if they truly want to apply, and they are in that capacity to do so. Again, those that have real severe challenges and difficulties that where they cannot do the basics, that's a different story. But when we're talking just people or individuals that they've got the language, they've got the communication, they've got the all the ability to be able to do the basics every day. They've got the capacity to keep learning. And if they're going to turn around and say, I'm autistic, I won't do that, or I can't do that, that's not for me, that for me is of concern, because once again, I wouldn't be doing all the things that I do today. I live independently, I drive independently, I have a relationship, I can walk and talk and function well in society, from small crowds, large crowds, I can do it all. And so I know the struggles that most of these guys are on. I can't speak for all, but I have put that much of a hard work and have taken the step back throughout the journey, which we all should do, and self-reflect and go, well, these are some things that I could certainly improve upon. I don't have to always win at everything. It's okay to lose. Just because I'm competitive doesn't mean that I have to ruin a fun experience for everybody else. I need to work on my behavior.
Sure. Well, and it should be, and I think everyone should eventually reach a point where they know, what they're good at and what they're not. I will never volunteer to fix anyone's lawnmower ever. I can almost guarantee it's going to be worse after I try. But if you have, say, a freshman in high school who's having trouble explaining or like understanding the theory of relativity, give me a few minutes with them. I might be able to help. I'm assuming that there's like an aspect to that in what you're saying, where you don't want anyone to say, oh, I can't do that because I have autism, but I do also want them to say, you probably shouldn't make me the receptionist for this volunteer event. I'll do it.
Yeah.
But
don't throw the term out there to absolutely, that's right. Don't overuse, your diagnostic term. That's right. If people want to identify themselves as autistic, that's not a problem. That's fine. But if you then start to use that as a card or a form of excuse to justify certain behaviours or certain things, that's when it can be a little bit of concern. So that's right. Yeah. Something you can't do. Well, it's not because you're autistic. It's because maybe you just absolutely don't have the skill or experience to be able to do so. But if we're talking something as small as, well, can you pick up a broomstick and perhaps clean the floor in your house a little bit and maybe complete some of the basic chores, the household chores, don't turn around and go, autistic people can't do that. No, we're suited to being on our computers or our devices. That's what we'll stick to. That's what autistic people do. Wrong. Absolutely terrible if that's the attitude. So yeah, I always come back to those things. What is the attitude? What is the effort level? What is the responsibility level? And there are many on the autism spectrum that need ongoing support. They do need inspiration and motivation to improve in those areas, because many of them, yes, they're not motivated. And a lot of them, they don't see the interest. They don't see the point. We just had one here. He was a poster boy for one of the disability organisations, and they cut his funding because he was living like an absolute pig, and he was, in a very unhygienic facility because he wouldn't clean up after himself, and yet he's supposed to be someone that is meant to represent being independent with autism. Well, just because you've got autism doesn't mean that you need to let everything all around you fall apart. You should still learn the skills of how to maintain and manage and all the rest. So, and parents are all concerned. I'm sure, Kendra, you've had an experience or two. Parents want to go away on a little holiday, but they can't do so if their loved one can't be trusted on how to use the oven or the microwave and potentially cause a house fire.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree completely with everything you've said about not using autism or any diagnosis as an excuse. My husband is a professional. He 100% could live alone. He has a successful relationship, and he's helping raise 4 children. And so, yeah, absolutely. People on the spectrum can do all of these things. I I see kind of a slightly different angle in that, you know, as the mom and wife of people who are struggling to be more valued and more understood in the world, I want to shed light on, you know, yeah, they have struggles. My husband has described eye contact as painful. He can do it when he must, but it really just takes so much effort out of him, and he needs time to recover after having certain social interactions. And our son has a similar, you know, after certain social interactions and needing to make compromises with his siblings and his cousins, he needs decompression time. And so part of what I hope I'm doing in my blog and in with the book I have published already and in the ones I'm working on is kind of bringing light to exactly this topic of, yeah, they have difficulties and they struggle with certain things, but they're valuable human beings. Even if we're talking about the people who struggle with language, either receptive or expressive, and they are valuable, they may tell it in a different way, even when they don't use our language. And even if we have to, as the allistic people, shift our way of thinking to meet our autistic loved ones where they are, and make the bigger effort to make that relationship happen with them. And I do that all of the time. I make sure that I am using blunt words with my husband.
Yeah, keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah, exactly.